is in what they've accepted in the.
So basically, yeah, okay, here it is. So they did not want us to pay the PERS.
Oh, I might be looking again.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to start again?
Well, I'll just explain real quick. So they wanted to pay their own PERS. We offered to pay their PERS. They wanted to pay their own PERS. They wanted that money elsewhere. So we agreed to a step increase with the third year adding a step 10 because a vast majority of those employees are already on their highest step. So we're just going to add a step so that they will see benefit. Insurance went from $1,400 for this year, $1,425 for the 22-23, and $1,475 for 23-24. And then we are paying 100% of their Section 125, from 90% to 100%.
Correction, Terry. 2022-2023 is 1,450 instead of 1,425.
Okay. And then I was telling them, Melissa, that they're really big on this stipend for bilingual for people that let's just use an example of a secretary that gets used for interpretation when bilingual parents come in, and they have to spend sometimes up to 5 hours a day. Not every day, but it has been up to 5 hours where they interpret for families that don't speak English. And so it's pretty self-explanatory there. We'll get there. So anyway, with all that, we have a motion and second to approve the contract after that page. It's been moved and accepted the collective bargaining agreement for the classified staff between the Jefferson School District 14J and OSTA Jefferson Chapter 141. So now we're going to vote for it. So, Melissa, what's your vote?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Tracy?
Steve?
Okay. Kate?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So it's 4 ayes and Tracy wrote abstaining. So the next part is the administrative confidential benefit agreement. And Fred, will you explain that more?
So the contract, the administrative confidential contract includes language stating that staff members shall receive a package equivalent to the highest package offered by the bargaining unit. So you'll see that reflected in their contract. So it's everything in the contract is the same as it was previously, except updated to reflect the OSCA contract for the coming. So that's
okay. So can you explain for Fred who the administrative and confidential people include?
so administrators, all the principals, assistant principal, and any administrator in the district, and then confidential employees are people in the district office and.
Okay, go ahead.
So were their peers paid last year? Is that a change in this
Thank
contract?
you. So yes, they were part of the PERS. So when we bargained with the license association years ago, they decided to do PERS, and so the administrators then got PERS along with their.
So no change.
No change.
So just a little bit of information, Fred, is we really would like to pay PERS for all of our staff members because all the districts around us do. They pull that in, and so it just makes us just really competitive in getting employees, and when we're looking for employees to work at the staff.
But from the sounds of it, that they had that option, correct?
Our Our classified did,
On
Like-
classified.
but they offered not to take it. But we really wanted it, but, you know, we want to work what they wanted to. They had it.
So, oh,
I have several relatives and
Yeah, public employee retirement.
Yes, yes, and the 6% is mandatory, it's by statute.
So I'll entertain a motion to,
wait, hold on.
I didn't see your cup.
Yeah, I don't have a cup.
Go ahead.
So I guess I have a pretty big point of order before we go down this path. So there's actually statutorily, this looks a lot like a bargaining agreement with our administrators, which we're not really allowed to have under ORS and under policy. And generally, when it comes to contractual agreements with individual administrators or management employees, you may have terms that are set out in human resources or possibly in HR policy that our board may agree to or we may define, but it's not really done like this. Things that are especially concerning is that there's a signature line for an admin confidential rep. So this may be something that our board wants or district practices, and it may be information that we provide. And this may be something that applies to every single confidential or management employee, but this shouldn't be like a contract, and it shouldn't be treated as if they're a bargaining group, and it may be illegal. So I would encourage the board to check that policy and to check that ORS before going down this path. And it maybe should be reviewed or pulled. And if the board has done so in the past, it probably shouldn't have been done. And if somebody that was a confidential employee or an administrator negotiated with the board or management on behalf of the other administrators, that was probably not good either.
Well, listen, we did not bargain with, we didn't even meet.
If you agreed to terms
Well, we didn't agree to terms.
on behalf of them as a group, and there's a signature line, that's not quite okay. Like,
So previously there was a contract, PA my being here. So all the language in that contract is the same in this contract, except updated to reflect the numbers. So it's very common to have a contract with people like administrators, and when you look through the contract, it gives some basic information that they are entitled to have. That's pretty standard that we would have a contract. But that's not they're not a bargaining group, so we can't say
no.
we don't negotiate with them. We go back and forth, that's why it's written in that contract that otherwise, it could be that we could bargain with an association like PERS, for example, and we could have left out a whole group of people, administrators and so forth, that it's not in them. And that language says that we're going to, honor what's being given as benefits to the highest group, to administrators and confidential as well, which allows them to benefit from negotiations without being a part of the negotiation of the group. So while they're not bargaining, we're not bargaining with them. It is a goodwill gesture, and it's always smart if we have a contract, so that you can see what it is that we agree to. So there's no misunderstandings or people that take advantage of employees, or they could say that we're not doing something. It's just laid out pretty simple.
That's not what I meant. We can have that as our employment practice, and that can be in contract, or that can be spelled out, or that's part of what we offer employees. Jefferson School District, extends to administrators and confidential employees this benefit package, right? That's part of a benefit package, or what we offer to employees. And that can be spelled out in the contract that you provide to every individual. But this particular contract has a line on it that would be presented to an admin confidential rep. It's not presented to an individual employee.
So Melissa, may I ask a question?
There's a difference. Oh, I'm stating for you.
I want to ask you a clarifying question.
Oh, go ahead.
So if we take off the admin confidential rep line, does this information that the board is looking at meet our requirements?
It helps.
Point of view.
It does help, but I probably need assurances that this wasn't agreed to or negotiated with by a representative from, our confidential staff or our administrative staff that wanted to make sure that, as a group, they were taken care of in a certain way. I would hope that our board and our district office would want to maintain parity with our employees, and that we would provide for them equitably, right? That's something that we want to do to take care of our employees. We give them holidays. Our district office, as part of their human resources responsibilities, make sure that our pay tables are taken care of. I'm curious about the bonus structure that's in there and where that came from. That seems unusual to me for evaluations, because we don't do that for other employees. Anyway.
Amber?
I was just trying to point out that this is anything different than we've done in the past since 15 and 16. So I'm not understanding where.
In 15 and 16.
She's got the information up there on the screen.
Since
I know that there was one that was done in the past. It was signed by Kathy Emmerich. That doesn't mean that it wasn't done inappropriately. I was brand new on the board, by the time I became aware that one of these had happened. And then I went to training and found out that it's illegal for administrators to have a bargaining group and to negotiate an agreement like this. It had already happened. So
Let me just state again that there was no bargaining with this group. There was no, do you agree or not agree? There was no back and forth. It was, updating their contract and giving them this is what it's going to be this year. So.
okay,
Brad, in other words, this is a document for the board to see what is being offered to our administrators and our confidential employees. Is that correct? Thank you.
Brad, can you clarify if the pay parity analysis has been done on all of our supervisory or management staff?
Sorry, the what? I didn't.
The pay parity analysis that came out a couple of years ago from Boley.
Yes, that was reviewed and actually discussed that with Amber this morning. That was reviewed and looked at and shown that we are very competitive with districts in our region.
No, it's not that we're competitive, that our positions have parity within them. It's not that we're competitive, that our positions have parity.
The positions have parity with other districts.
No, that our positions have parity. So for example, one position that has a similar workload or maybe possibly a higher workload is not paid less than another position that has a less workload, where there may be a female employee versus a male employee.
So
And-
yes,
and it-
when it comes to the equity law, pay equity law, that is conversations that we've had internally in the business office and also with our attorney. And so as we move forward and make decisions about, making another position or whatever, we have to consider those aspects. The other word safeguard or piece to that is whenever we create a new position or we reach out to our associations, let them know. So if they have any questions or concerns about pay equity, then those are brought up at that time. So I feel confident that you're following them.
And then how do you determine the steps in the positions? Because they don't necessarily look consistent. Like when I did HR work, like we consistently had like 5% between each of our steps, or 3.3 between each of our steps, or 5% in between each of our steps. And I'm looking at, say, director of child nutrition between step 1 and between step 3, and then accounting specialist between step 1 and step 3, and noticing that there's not really consistency in how the pay moves up. So I'm curious and how those steps math out and what methods you used in determining those.
Yeah, we just had a conversation this morning about it actually, and let Hattie to talk a little bit about the current, in terms of people OSCAs for example, we're working on.
OSCA, the contract here with the salary schedules in it, it's 4.5% between each step with a 2.5% COLA on base.
Every position is that way?
That is for the classified contract, yes. If you look at the salary schedules, it took me a little bit of time to look at them and figure it out, but yes, that is correct.
They're not consistent.
Which ones are you looking at?
I'm even just looking between the accounting specialist and the child nutrition director.
That's the confidential salary schedule. And I can't tell you exactly the percent between those. The administrators are 2% between each step. And then the COLA increase on the step.
We're happy to look at them.
Yeah.
Double check.
Yeah, I would maybe double check those numbers because they, I don't have my calculator in front of me, but they look like they jump around a little bit in rates where one position starts out higher and then looks like it progresses much slower, at a much slower rate.
I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions? So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
And are we updating the line?
Are we updating what?
We're removing the food, or I'm sorry.
Taking the end of the confidential line off of it, which is.
Yeah, we'll take that confidential off that. So with that,
I move to accept the non-represented employee contract for administrators and confidential with Jefferson 14 District, School District 14J.
second,
Also,
it's been moved and seconded to accept the non-represented employee contract for administration and confidential employees of the Jefferson School District. And we will take that, the representative confidential line off of it. Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Fred? Aye. Tracy? Aye. Okay.
I
Chair votes aye. Board evaluation and goals.
All right, you have the summary in bar graph form that shows from the responses that the board members that participated. You can see that green was determined as always for the 5 different standards. Blue is most of the time, yellow is some of the time, red is never, and black was I don't know. So for standard 1 code and ethics, which provides responsible school district governance, 83% for code 1 were most of the time and always. For vision, set and communicate high expectations for student learning with clear goals and plans for meeting those expectations. We were 95%. Standard 3, structure, create conditions district-wide for student and staff success. We had 92%. For standard 4, accountability, holding the school district accountable for meeting student learning expectations is 74% in those 2 areas. Standard 5, advocacy and communication, engaging the local community and represent the values and expectations they hold for their schools is 88%. So those were areas for strong. Feeling the board was feeling that we did well. One of the things we need to work on is establishing a goal for this school year. And we have from November of 2019, when we met with Steve Kelly from OSBA, what we came up with as the superintendent and board expectations of one another, as well as our board secretary and board agreement as of March 2021. So I'm curious what people would like us to do for a board goal for this coming year.
Brent, if we could just backtrack a little bit, I just have a question about this. school board self-evaluation, so we rate ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, so, Kate, explain the process that we went through. And who gave that to us?
Through OSBA, they highly recommend that boards do a self-evaluation to see how we compare with one another on the board, how we feel and how we're operating. If we don't feel we're operating well, then what are we going to do to improve that? So this is a self-evaluation tool. And this has been research developed through OSBA. It's an online survey that each person does individually. And then they aggregate the scores into the 5 standards.
Just off the cuff, it seems odd to me. All I have to relate it to is my personal life, my personal job, and I don't get to evaluate myself. If I did, I'd be getting a raise all the time. I understand we're volunteer positions here, but I can see how it could possibly, functionality of the board itself. Do we have anything to compare it to with other boards?
We could have gone for a workshop at the end and have them present this and compare us to other boards in the area. What we opted to do this year was to just get a summary done. We can choose to do the entire workshop that comes with it in the future if we choose to budget for it. But that's a discussion for the board. We have been doing it really for self-evaluations for 5 years. Yeah, we did it for 5 years. It was part of being able to do the Promise Scholarship Program. It was part of it's part of what was done with the Lighthouse Project, which is evaluates boards. And they talk about.
But we haven't done this evaluation for 5 years.
No.
This is actually new, and this is something out of the state of Washington that's part of a project, and it's actually a sliver of the self-governance of the project that they came out of. And we're really only seeing part of what that might look like for boards. The full tool might be a little bit more effective, but we're just seeing the part that kind of got carved out. My opinion is it's not particularly effective for boards. And I don't know that it really helps us.
It gives us the standards that we are working toward. It gives us opinions that the board's functioning with of those that responded. And then on our information sheet with going deeper, it says identify time for the board and the superintendent for team learning. Determine who you're going to use as the facilitator for that. And then, so part of it is for us to be able to come up with a goal that we would like to address as a board before we do our next evaluation of our commitment.
Well, it seems like the one area that, all the areas were pretty good except for standard 4 accountability. The whole school district accountable for meeting students' learning expectations. That's where, if you lack in one area there, I would say that it's standard 4. And I know that, this last past year has been a real tough year to try and meet, to hold the district accountable for expectations when you're doing it online. know, I mean, we haven't been to school for a year and a half. Darn near, so, it's a little bit of a tougher thing, I know that, I know that that's the area I think we need to work on. And, but I think some of that isn't our fault because of the COVID situation. But, I noticed that, there, which Amber has up there, you know, what our goal was for 2020, that we set August 10th. And it says there, you know, accountability board will monitor and review the implementations of new distance learning software monthly. The board will find out how the software is serving students, families, and how our teachers are utilized, how our teachers are utilized. And, you know, now that was done in the midst of COVID. You know, our children are pretty resilient. For nothing but good about them since they've come back into school. You know, next year is going to be hopefully a full school day year. No AV anymore. And so I'm really kind of excited to see what's going to happen with our children next year when we have more student contact time with our kids, with our teachers. But anyway, more questions. Tracy?
I'd just like to make a statement that during the course of distance learning, we got regular reports from staff on Chromebooks, hotspots, things of that sort. The biggest problem that we faced over the last fiscal year was ODU changing the benchmark, commonly known as the goal. You know, how to readapt and change and switch, you know, following what their guidance was. So this was definitely a difficult one for me to rate based upon the difficulties that the district was experiencing throughout the challenges of COVID. So that's all I want to say about that. I agree. Right.
I don't think anybody would disagree here, that the challenges that, this board faced and, a lot of adversity there. But just circling back around this, I would be interested in, of a, not a self-evaluation, but I don't even know if it's possible, maybe on base, but what the teachers, the parents, and the community thinks. To me, that would be, more useful for me as a board member rather than rating myself.
Any recommendations on what we should set as a goal for this coming year?
Well, okay, so KB, personally, I just like to stick with that goal number one. You know, but live distant learning out there. But I think we need to monitor how our children are doing. You know,
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying that's what our goal
the
should be.
difference is, I guess what I'd like us to do then, if we're not going to set a goal today for this, then I would like us to do it at a work session with possibly representation from OSBA to help us so that we set a board goal and not a district goal.
Yeah.
Because when you say you want to monitor students' progress, that's administrative.
That's true.
So we have two goals that we're looking at that deal with data and progress of our students that are district goals. But what we need to do is to set a board goal, and I guess one that I think of that would be helpful for us is to help us function as a board so that we all understand our roles in the district. And so I would like to see us have a trainer in from OSBA to work with the board on roles and responsibility and team building for the board. And I'd like to have that done in a timely manner. So it would be best if we could do it before school start.
I,
Hang on a minute, Melissa.
One of the other things that I think is of significant importance is I've been to quite a few conferences over my time here on the board. Doing the conferences via Zoom and stuff last year, difficult at best to, very difficult at best to get a lot of value out of that. But I think at those conferences, I've seen tables filled with entire board individuals going through board training, conference training, OSBA. I think it's important that we learn cohesively together because things do change. Recommendations change. How much more can we function as a board if the entire board would participate at the summer board conference or the fall board conference, including new members of the board? You know, so that is an important one from that standpoint to help facilitate something like this. Just saying. Melissa?
we've got fall convention coming up, and it's actually going to be in Salem. So it'll be a little bit smaller, but it'll be at the Salem Convention Center. And I appreciate that, we can have OSBA come and do some in-house training for us. I personally get a huge amount out of it with the training at the conferences and the networking with other boards, and almost kind of getting to like have our board there and have other boards networking. So I do know that there's some time, it'd be nice to get Fred up to speed and get us all on the same page and get going. But I think that there could be some cost savings, and for the cost of bringing an OSBA trainer in, we could probably all go to convention in Salem, for the cost of that. Mine's already covered, for being on the OSBA board, but, we don't really have to worry about room and board for anybody, since it's local. It should be a little bit easier, not being up in Portland. So I would advocate doing something like that, and that, those sessions that we have, for new board members, or, a couple of those sessions that would be on board governments or board superintendent working relationships or whatever, that we commit as a group to, it's going to be repeats for myself and Kay, maybe Tracy, Terry. I can't remember what you've gotten to go to when you've been, when you've gotten to go, but, we commit to buckle down to some of those as maybe refreshers for us. And we take those as a board, we work through them. Our superintendents and secretaries are at those, and we work through some of those sections together as a board, even though it's, even though it might be some stuff we've heard before. I think it's better training that way. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Amber?
Oh, no, I was just gonna point out that I think we budgeted differently this year to for trainings and stuff. We were not receiving, so. Budgeted for trainings. And I did reach out to Vince Adams, I told Kay, I reached out to Vince Adams in regards to setting up work sessions, if that's the way you guys want to do it.
Brad?
Yeah, I think we can do both, I think. But what the beautiful thing about going to a conference, like Melissa was saying, is that there's some networking, there's different types of workshops, and so you can decide, yeah, let's go to this one, let's go to that one. So there's definitely a plus to it, but also, I think having somebody come here speaks directly to the issues that you want to work on. Whereas at the conference, one person hears that information, but not everybody. And so being able to ask questions of a presenter and that kind of thing, I think is really advantageous. And I know we enjoy it too, to be able to all be in the same room and having the same talk and discussion and questions, because I think it makes us grow stronger. But that's not to say that, sending some folks to, fall conference and, being able to, go to a workshop, come out of that, sit and talk about it is valuable too. And I think that is also something that where you could maybe get some type of information that you wouldn't get necessarily in the one-on-one. So I see them as both different, but also both really valuable.
I'd add just one more thing. When we leave and we get outside of our own board and we get to network and we get exposure to other boards and we get that other piece, we get to see other districts and how we may get to do it differently or better, or how we may get to break outside of the same things that we're doing where we're not effective. And we, if we never leave Jefferson, we don't get that benefit. I get so much more when I am around other board peers from other districts, other size districts, and get that exposure. I have insight that I don't have when we just stay home. So I can't emphasize that enough. And I think it's only $50 for Fred to go because he's new.
Thank you. Amber, do we have any, that one that she was talking about at Salem, do we get any emails on that?
Oh, no, they have it, all they're advertising for right now is the summer board conference. Summer board conference was July 9th and 10th and July 23rd and 24th. So they haven't, I haven't seen anything for fall yet. I don't know.
So what were you talking about, Melissa, about the one from Salem, the one in Salem?
So the fall convention that's in November is actually going to be held in Salem at Salem Convention Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit scaled down from what we normally see. So
Do you have the dates?
I don't have the dates. I suspect it'll be around the same time. It's generally over Labor Day, where that first state in services. They generally try to honor that so the most people can attend.
Okay.
Melissa,
Not Labor Day. I'm sorry. Veterans Day.
11,
to the 13th,
November 11th and 13th.
Yeah.
at the Salem Convention
I
Center.
think, yeah, I think it's usually like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it ends on a Sunday, but it might not be that long. And the first day is usually pre-conference for new board members and secretaries, but it might not be that full thing.
So, I'm not against the annual convention at all, but I really would like to look into what did you say his name was?
So I contacted Mr. Kelly and Steve gave me Vince Adams information, and he wanted me to gather dates from you guys that would work for you. If you wanted to do a work session and hand those to him and he'll work out.
Oh, already decided.
Okay, can you find out what the cost would be?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so I would like to, I'm just gonna move into the next one here about a work session. The reason I have that work session is is on there, because I was kind of thinking the same way, along with what Kay was thinking. We have that, what was that, first work session you're talking about?
I'd like us to do a work session where we get some of the information from roles and responsibilities of board members, as well as some team building.
So,
And answer any other questions our newest board member might have on the roles of a board member.
yeah, and I like that. And the reason being is we do have a new board member, and just for him to understand a lot more of what our roles and responsibilities of a board member is. I remember taking that class. I think I took it online the first time it happened. And there's just a lot of information there. What our responsibility is here at the board. One of the things that I made a huge mistake of when I first got on the board. On the board, I had all these things I wanted to change with the school. And I actually talked to a couple of administrators about it, and after I was on the board, and one of them put me in the spot real close and said, "You're not here to micromanage, you're just here to guide and direct the superintendent. And your job is to take care of the superintendent and policies." And it kind of opened my eyes. And then after that fact, I went to that class or did that class online. I learned so much more about what our responsibility is. Because a lot of times when you come in here as new board members, with ideas and things that that we should change in the school, or things that we like to see different. And I made myself look like a pretty good idiot first year, so
I'm not guaranteeing that won't.
so that's okay, Brett. We're just trying to help it. So you can learn
And
that.
it might even be today.
Anyway, go ahead, Kate.
Jefferson School Board tradition had been in the past that since we meet on the second Monday of the month, that the fourth Monday of the month would have been a work session if it was needed. In July, the fourth Monday is the 26th of July, and in August, the fourth Monday is the 23rd. So I don't know if those days work for anybody else on their calendar.
Well, both of those would work for me. As far as for me goes, I don't know about the rest, but I think we need to talk to Vince and see what the cost would be before we make a decision. I don't know, how much do we have budgeted for board education?
Yeah, it's in here.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll reach out to him and give him the dates that we decided, but also ask him the cost first.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just gather the dates today and then ask him the question.
Okay.
I think I'm good on both of those dates there.
I'm not available the end of July. I have family here, and I might not be available the end of August because of training.
Well, let's, Amber or Melissa, before we make a decision, let's find out what dates are available with those guys, and see what the cost is.
Melissa, can you give us dates that you would be available?
Well, July is shot for me.
20 through 10.
23. Thank you. Okay. Professional improvement.
That first week of September, or last week in August, first week of September, I think is open right now. Is that training?
Let's find out some information, Melissa, before we start writing them down on there.
What are your dates in August?
So the last week of August.
I think the last week of August, the first week of September is clear.
The 30th then?
Yeah, I think that's, I think that
August
one.
30th?
Yes.
Be Monday?
I don't have my home calendar in front of me. I'm away, so
I'm not sure if August 30th would work for us.
That's the first day of
Our first day back
student
for all
or
staff.
teachers back.
You know, let's,
But we've done, I mean, we've done stuff when they're back, you
yeah.
know, that's okay.
Let's find out some dates.
So are we, just for understanding, are we approving a workshop or we're just looking at dates and solidifying that? Is that?
I'm not approving a workshop. I want to first see dates and costs. So how much pay do we have for
I need
4,000.
4,000, okay, which line item is that?
389, other non-instructional.
and that, you know, and that includes
That includes all of the workshops.
workshops too.
That includes fall conference, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
No, your fees is 2,000.
No dues and fees too, we have dues and fees and that
There are
goes
2,000, that gives $2,000
for like the conference.
for conferences or whatever.
Yeah. like the
And
fall conference.
does new board members get to go to the conference for free still?
It's
That's what I thought.
No, 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 no. It's
No.
changed.
board members go for free.
I,
Registration.
Because I paid for Melissa to go to a conference before, so it's either, I think she either went to one time, so they didn't pay for the other one, but they only paid for one.
They go for free.
they, stop. Fall is paid for. Summer board is not paid for.
Okay. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna wait till we hear back. And so the next board meeting will come up with a date. Okay. So with that, we got board comments. So Melissa, you got anything else you want to say on board comments?
Probably, but I've got a little bit of a headache right now, so
Okay.
I'll just hold my comments.
Okay, Fred?
I do, first of all, you guys need AC in here, and I don't, that's probably out of procedure or whatever, I don't care, it is really warm in here, so.
Wait till there's more people, right?
Go, you guys are killing me. No, so actually, it's kind of funny that I'm here for my first day. Every year I get together with, at work, when we hire new people, they get a yellow hard hat so we can keep an eye on how they feel, right? Because that's typically that's who gets hurt the most is, I'm gonna say experienced guys like me, or old, and then new guys. So we like to keep an eye on them. And today I spent 5 hours with them, and I find that time really valuable. Because I've seen the same equipment, the same yards for 30 years now. And I get glazed over, and sometimes, you know, I ask those guys, what would you change, what are you seeing that's different or that you would change as painful sometimes to hear what they have to say, because it's obvious and I've missed it. So these things that I'm gonna mention, just I hopefully you appreciate it for what it is, an outsider looking in on the facts. But I'm gonna refer back to Brad's statement that he gave, and I was glad that to hear it talk about you know, community outreach and collaboration. I think that's huge. I think that's an area this group on. And one thing I've noticed that's pretty obvious to me, and maybe there's a reason for it, and you put me in my place like Terry was put in his place a few years ago. But we don't have a presence on Facebook. And what I mean by that, I know we have a Facebook page. There hasn't been a post on it this month. No post at all. And something I don't think any member of the community knows that they can come and sit in now. This is the first month that they've been able to do that since the whole thing started. So I think that information be put out there, and not just on the school district's page, but I think Jefferson's got like 3 community pages now, and I noticed that other school districts and the city will post. That's how I found out about the park on the gas station up there. They put that information out there. To me, that's transparency. I know that the community can click on our Facebook page and then click 3 links and get to the board meeting minutes and everything. I would prefer that we just have those board minutes and meetings and the fact that they've done attendance meetings in person now, right out, so they don't have to go look for it. Basically, it's right out in front of them. To me, that's that's transparency. I do have another agenda item, but I talked with Brad earlier, and I think that you and I and Brad are going to be next Wednesday, and I'll bring it up then. The only other thing I had, and I'm gonna talk in generalities because I do think I researched it for about an hour and a half before the school board meeting. And I think it falls under ORS 192-660, which is kind of ironic because when I came in, that's actually posted right there. And so just feel free, anybody to stop me at any time, but I think during the last school board meeting, there was some policies that weren't followed and broken. And I don't know how much we want to get into it right here and then. I mean, to me, I'm making a complaint about the school board activities that took place last month during the last school board meeting. And I think it could fall under the ORS 192-660. So, but I don't want to get into details in case it does, and this needs to go to executive session.
Thank you. Grayson?
No, other than this month I participated on a volunteer basis here at the school district of Save Money. And give assurances of quality process. So we can enjoy that.
Okay.
I want to compliment our classified negotiating team for being so flexible and working with the best interests of Jefferson 14J School District. I felt the board was well represented in that as well. And so I would like to thank the classified for the work that they've done. And I'm looking forward to seeing how our new school district employees come together as we welcome them back.
So I'm just real excited about our summer program. 130 children that want the effort. You know, when I got out in the summer, I didn't want to go to school. Why did you do that? You know, but you know, there's 130 children that really care enough about their learning that they want to come back and learn more. And I just want to thank everybody from the buses to the people providing the meals to the teachers and the classified that are working with that. I just want to thank each and every one of them to do that. So, and then I'm real excited about how school's going to run again in September. Really looking forward to that. Our children will have full day contact time. So, really.
I have a thing or question or something.
I just want
Wait,
anything
wait.
we do is right.
Hang on a minute, Amber. Or,
Just to answer his question, give me some type of correspondence, to what you said. Anything we do is right for the week. Just an FYI,
anything that
anything.
any decision or any motion that we do, we, you know, with employees, we do find out to make sure we're okay. We don't want to break that either.
Yeah, and I still think we did. That being said, I still think we did.
Okay, Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed on our job listings that there's a Dean of Students position at JES. A new position. So I'm curious about that since I don't recall having a Dean of Students position at our elementary school.
You guys hear that?
Says there's a dean of students position at the elementary school.
Is there one?
A Dean of Students position?
It's open to
It was open today. Does that answer your question?
I can't hear anything, so I,
Hang on a minute.
We turn it towards Brad.
So, Melissa, that Dean of Students was open today.
Just this morning, Melissa, it was open just this morning.
right, I saw that, but I don't recall us having a dean of students position. And it sounds like an administrator position that's a new creation. So we have a principal at our elementary school. It's a small school. So I'm familiar with a dean of students and what that does. So we've already had concerns about administrator expansion and administrator creep and kind of filling out some positions. So I'm curious as to what's going on with all the TOSAs that keep happening in positions. You don't have to tell me now, but I feel like as a board member, when we have all these positions that are happening or new positions happening, or there's visioning or direction changes, it's probably a good idea to let the board know, hey, board, we're creating a new position and this is what we hope to accomplish with it, or this is how we're funding it, or stuff like that. We've kind of been given those in the past. In my other hat on the OSBA board, when shifts like that happen, it's generally run by our board before any kind of new positions are created. And those are actually approved through the board. So I'm curious about that and what it does to our budget when we add new positions.
So there will be a strategic plan updated, and positions will have a justification next to them and financial fiscal column associated, so they know how they're being paid, why they're being paid or created, and what their purpose is. So that's all part of the plan for August, or we're having a retreat the 16th. Have something to share at this point.
Okay. Is there any community comments from the audience?
Not in the Q&A here, and I haven't gotten any via email.
Okay. With that, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 8:25. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yep.
Get feeling better.
Happy birthday.
Man.
Thank you.
He was being patient with us.